since the November election, I keep hearing a sentiment repeated by my friends that's freaking me out a little bit. And I want to know if folks where you are have this same outlook, because I do recognize that I live in a bubble in Portland, Oregon. And I also recognize that most of my friends are not as politically active as I am. They think that I'm a little bit nuts. Or they're like, it's good that you have the energy for that kind of work. But I actually think that, we just have to hang on for another 3 years of this, and then we'll just vote for a new guy. I know that a number of my friends think that I'm a little bit alarmist. I know that for a lot of Americans, they think that this is politics as usual. And since the election in November with that blue wave, I have a lot of friends who are saying to me, like, Angela, is it really necessary to do all of the things that you're doing? Is it really necessary for everybody to be like so wound up over what Trump is doing? We'll just vote Republicans out in the midterms, and then we'll just elect a Democrat in 2028. And that, like, oh, this is just politics as usual, and we'll just fix it all in the midterms, and we'll just fix it all in the 2028 presidential election. That freaks me out. That concerns me quite a bit. And is it just my friends? I don't know. It's not even just my friends in Portland. I hear this from folks that I've known for a really long time who live in other states that are deeply red, who are like, we just got to hang on for 3 years and then this will all be over. Is that a sentiment that you are hearing expressed where you are? Because y'all understand that this is not politics as usual. Like, we understand that this is an authoritarian takeover, and I don't understand why so many of my friends don't seem to grasp that fact. I don't understand why so many of my friends think that electoral politics will get us out of this, that just voting in the midterms and voting in the presidential election will just like make all of this terribleness go away. I think these are the same people who believed that electing Joe Biden meant that all of the awfulness of the Trump era was just gone and we were just moving right along, right? Sweep it under the rug. It feels like very Merrick Garland-y. And I don't know if people are just really checked out, if they can't be bothered, if they're so busy in their own lives trying to care for their families that they are failing to adequately assess the moment. But when I hear that, like, we'll just fix it in the midterms. Like, are you listening to establishment Democrats in Congress? Are you believing their gaslighting? Or are you just too checked out? What is it that is keeping people from properly assessing what is happening in the United States? Because I go to the Indivisible What's the Plan call every Thursday. I attend the ACLU's monthly Zooms. I go to the Surge online trainings. I listen to the Big Tent USA webinars. I follow historians. I follow experts on authoritarianism. I have been reading, I'm like building a whole library out of books on authoritarianism, on nonviolent resistance. And I don't think that I am overreacting to what is happening right now. Being in spaces with other people who are adequately assessing the moment and understand the urgency and the severity of the situation helps me not feel gaslit by my friends who are like, why are you so worked up? We just got to hang on. We'll just fix it a year from now. We'll fix it in 2028. I'm like, y'all don't understand the goal of somebody like Donald Trump. What we know from other autocrats in history and what we know from what he and the Republicans have been saying is that they are doing their damnedest to dismantle free and fair elections. They are desperate to suppress the vote, particularly of Black Americans in red states. But in general, they are trying to suppress the vote and gerrymander everywhere they can. And that Donald Trump is positioning himself to do something that is just a classic autocratic move, where when Republicans lose in a landslide in the midterms, he is poised to come in and say, they cheated. These election results are not valid. I am going to keep all of the Republicans in office. Autocrats rarely cancel elections because they know that that will result in a mass revolt of the people. What they do is that when people cast their vote, they declare those election results fraudulent. And they say, no, actually, the real outcome is this. They either do it by just straight up lying, or they do it by throwing out votes that were legitimately cast all over the country, votes for Democrats, votes for the opposition party, whoever. And they manufacture an outcome where the autocrat and his loyalists, in this case, the fascist Republicans, they win. There has been so much rhetoric from Republicans that is what they intend to do in the midterms. Not only are they gerrymandering the shit out of congressional maps in Texas and Indiana and Florida and Ohio, etc., or trying to at this point in time, Donald Trump is trying to do away with mail-in voting. That's been his thing. He said since 2015, even though he himself votes by mail, because he knows vote by mail is highly accurate. It dramatically increases voter turnout. It is something that helps democracy function better. He doesn't want a functional democracy. He wants to be a dictator. He knows that if people have their votes counted, if people are able to get to the polls and vote, and then if they are able to have their votes counted, that the Republicans are fucked. He doesn't want a democracy. He doesn't want you to be able to express your power, to be able to exercise your constitutional rights. But he's not going to be able to shut down elections altogether. When I hear people who are like, right, here's me adequately concerned. Okay, friends over here who are complacent or apathetic and not properly assessing the moment. I'm down here. But then there's folks way down here, the doomers, who are just like freaking out over everything and saying he's going to cancel the midterms. He's just going to cancel elections. So he can't do that. Elections are run by the states. That's not what's going to happen. Neither is Starlink going to zap the votes. What's going to happen is that what is likely to happen, because the future is not known yet. What is likely to happen based on what Trump has said and based on what other autocrats have done, is that he's going to fraudulently claim that the results are not legitimate. He is going to do whatever he can to make it as hard as possible for people to show up and vote. And he's going to falsely claim that Republicans have swept the midterms. And if you think that they are not running that through for the midterms because they plan something similar and more extreme for the presidential election, they plan on never not being in power. They plan on dismantling democracy and instituting a regime. They already are a regime, but they plan on instituting Donald Trump and whoever comes after him as kings in the United States. The Republicans have facilitated the destruction of democracy in this country to make themselves into extreme Trump loyalists, into a fascist party. Republicans only care about their own power and wealth. They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about your rights. They don't care about free and fair elections. In fact, they want to do whatever they can to subvert free and fair elections. So when I hear people saying, too many of my friends saying like, oh, don't worry about it, we'll just fix it in the midterms. If you don't understand all of the assaults on free and fair elections, and if you aren't following like Mark Elias from Democracy Docket and the ACLU and folks who are working to defend our right to vote, to defend our free and fair elections, then you're not adequately assessing the risk and the urgency, the need for us to organize. We know from other movements that you can't really just vote an autocrat out. It takes organization on so many levels. It takes economic boycotts. It takes protests. It requires us to do everything that we can to defend those who are targeted by the regime, to care for them. It requires us building connections, networks, mutual aid support groups, making sure that we are taking care of each other, making sure that we are building our collective power as the people and then exercising it. Yes, we have to exercise that power at the ballot box, but that alone is insufficient to stop a would-be autocrat. And I don't understand, forgive my inability to empathize with too many of my friends. I don't understand why they don't see that. It requires us working diligently to erode the pillars of support under Donald Trump. All of those institutions and people who are doing his bidding, who will be complicit with the Republicans, with Donald Trump, in dismantling democracy, in suppressing the vote, in denying us our rights. We have to get those folks to peel off from Trump. There is so much work that we have to do that is beyond just voting in the midterms. If we are foolish enough to think that the defense of our democracy in this moment in time just requires us to show up, every 2 years and cast a vote, then we are failing to adequately assess the urgency and the dire need for us to organize and for us as the American people to recognize our power and then wield that power effectively in defense of our neighbors, in defense of our liberty. I don't know how to better reach my friends. They're just like, that's great for you that you're so energized. That's great for you that you're willing to do that work. It's probably overkill. We're just gonna hang on for a couple more years and then vote this stuff out. Y'all are a little bit hyper. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah, things are bad right now, but this is just what corrupt Republicans do, and we'll just fix it in the midterms. I don't know how to reach those folks. I don't know what it's going to take for them to understand what's actually happening, for them to adequately assess the moment and act appropriately. I am encouraged by the fact that there are millions and millions and millions of people who do understand and are doing that organizing work. But we need more people on board. We need more people to do the necessary work. How do we activate them? Are folks where you are as complacent as a big handful of my friends? no hate to my friends. I love y'all, but I just want to shake you and wake you up and help you realize voting in the midterms is necessary, but it's going to take a lot more than that.